Joe Biden is in hot water. And the question is why? Why now? I have so much information in this report. You are absolutely going to love it. Stick with me to the end. But first, let's have a laugh at the narrative.
I've said this many times before. We do not politicize the Department of Justice. That is something that the president said during the campaign. That is something that the president said in his early days of being in the White House. And that continues to be true.
This would be a good time to remind you about FedEps and just how politicized the Department of Justice has become.
Out there, I'm probably going to go to jail for it, okay? Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol.
But of course, he never went to jail, and Jamie Raskin told the Republicans to back off. No, the Department of Justice has become completely corrupt, and they went and raided Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents which Trump had there, which were protected by Secret Service and so on, not locked in a garage by your Corvette.
Mr. President,
okay.
classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage.
That's almost like being in a skip with Secret Service agents around and being a former president who could actually declassify documents. And that's the thing with Trump. He had declassed these documents that they still wanted to keep classified.
An interview with me. This was in the context of Russia's interference in U.S. elections, and it was in that office, the Penn Biden Center.
I don't have access to classified information anymore. I don't get briefed every morning by the agency, as I did for 8 years.
So he admits in that clip, which was from years ago, that he did not have access to those documents. He did not have that authority. And it's a good time to also remind you that the whole Russia collusion thing was finally admitted even by the Washington Post that it did not affect outcomes. The question is why now? What's going on? Why is this being allowed? Well, there's multiple theories you could postulate. One is Republicans took over the Congress, so therefore they were going to have subpoena power and they would be able to find this out and investigate, so you had to release it. Problem is, this was known before the election, so there's obviously suppression of information again, just like the Hunter Biden laptop. Then the other question is, are Democrats just finally done with this lead weight of Joe Biden bringing their party down? I mean, the guy has lied constantly. You can go back and now they're saying, we need to get rid of George Santos because he's a liar. Well, we got a plagiarizer in the White House. Shoot, yeah, let's eliminate all the liars. We might get rid of 90% of Washington, D.C. But after finding the initial trove of documents, they've now found a second one. How many more are we going to find? And the craziest thing is what they're related to.
3 sources tell CBS News the classified documents were discovered in this building about a mile from the White House at the offices of the Penn Biden Center, a foreign policy research institute set up after President Biden left the vice presidency. According to a source familiar with the matter, the classified documents are small in number and were found in November in a box among unclassified material. Sources would not characterize how sensitive the documents are.
A second batch of classified documents at a new location. That is being reported this hour by NBC News.
Okay, now we get into the narrative spinning. And if you thought CNN had gotten better, apparently they haven't. So they're saying here are these clear distinctions. Joe, it's under 12. Well, that was after the first one. We've got more coming. Some are top secret. Cooperating lawyers found alerted archives. Then they go on about Donald Trump, 160 plus secret, 60 top secret. By the way, you can have a top secret document that was about a president's travel plans that then became a nothing burger after the fact, but it was highly sensitive beforehand. So just know that. Under investigation for obstruction, FBI search after ignored subpoena. He didn't ignore the subpoena. He worked with them. Furthermore, he can actually declassify the documents, which is what his statement is. He declassed them, but they are upset the National Archives didn't want them declassed. What are those related to? They tried to spin this as nuclear, all this kind of stuff. Look, none of that's true. They were constantly leaking information, but now, as we're seeing here from these reports, nobody's saying boo. But I want you to know that Nancy Pelosi is with us on this one because if you recall, she and all the Democrats actually said no one is above the law, whether president or ex-president.
How can President Biden be trusted moving forward with America's secrets?
Because his lawyers, his team did the right thing.
But he had a closet with
His
classified
lawyers
information in
did
it
the
that
right.
they found. How did it get there?
Again,
Did the
he
lawyers
did,
do
he
the
was
right thing?
surprised that the records were there. He spoke to this
That they were
personally.
there?
He was surprised that the records were there. And when his lawyers found out and his team found out that they were there, they turned it over to the archives. And now it's being reviewed by the Department of Justice.
That ought to set your mind at ease. The Department of Justice is on the job. But not only was Karine Jean-Pierre not wanting to answer these questions, neither was Biden.
Answer first. Well, let me get rid of the easy one first. People know I take classified documents and classified information seriously. When my lawyers were clearing out my office at the University of Pennsylvania, they set up an office for me, secure office in the Capitol. The 4 years after being vice president, I was a professor at Penn. They found some documents in a box in a locked cabinet, or at least a closet. And as soon as they did, they realized there were several classified documents in that box. And they did what they should have done. They immediately called the archives, turned them over to the archives, and I was briefed about this discovery and surprised to learn that there were any government records that were taken there to that office. But I don't know what's in the documents.
Okay, let's set the record straight. Joe Biden never taught a class. University. Furthermore, you can't say you take the documents seriously, but have no idea what's in them or that they were there, and you sit them in your garage next to your Corvette. Do you remember when Joe Biden took that trip home and then all the rental cars ended up being torched the next day? I don't know if that's related to this. What were they torching documents? But you need to understand, and this is from an email obtained from the president's son's hard drive that reveals on April 15th, 2016, Hunter Biden had a meeting scheduled with his father and Gutmann, she is the president of the University of Pennsylvania, at the White House. The email is from Vice President of Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Joan Mayer. And it's outlining Hunter Biden's schedule for the week. Then you have to remember that the University of Pennsylvania receives massive sums of money from China. This whole thing is really stinking to high heaven. And we have now found out that these classified documents are related to Ukraine and China. Okay, and hat tip to Harold Wren on Twitter. This is a great point. So they talk about the second batch. Lawyer for Laws had a great point last night. The Penn office opened in 18. Biden left the office in 17. Where were they at in between? How many other stashes are there? Somebody asked, did Hunter have access to them? Wren replies, this is an incredibly relevant point. If Hunter did, and we already know he was in contact with Chinese nationals, that's a likely route for copies to be passed to Chinese intelligence. He would be a cutout in the courier chain from asset to case officer collecting intelligence. I'm strongly suspicious that Joe Biden is committing espionage on behalf of the Chinese and has been for years. Think about how valuable a Chinese spy in the White House could be to China. This story is not going away anytime soon, and more bombshells are surely to come. This could tank the Biden presidency. Not because I have great faith in the Department of Justice led by Merrick Garland, but because I do have faith that enough people are waking up that they will demand it. Congress will run the investigations, and eventually evidence is going to be too big. In addition to these bombshells, Paul Sperry tweeted out, breaking, one of the personal attorneys of Biden who discovered the top secret papers Biden kept at his private D.C. office was Dana Ramis, who worked with Obama-appointed archivist David Ferriero to review Trump's records. Ramis left White House 1 month before discovering Biden's secret stash. And then Dinesh D'Souza tweeted this out. Great reminders. Key differences between Trump and Biden's storage of classified docs. 1, Mar-a-Lago is secure because it's under Secret Service protection. Biden's think tank is not. 2, Biden's center is heavily subsidized by Chinese government money. And 3, Trump had power to classify. Biden did not. I got to leave you with this funny. It's amazing how somehow Twitter just works like this. So the top tweet by Charlie Kirk, breaking, a second batch of classified documents discovered by Biden aides. below that comes up with Rob Reiner, unless the DOJ indicts Donald Trump and his insurrectionist accomplices, I fear our democracy will continue down a path toward extinction. Thanks so much for listening. Check out mypillow.com. Use promo code Lumberjack to save up to 66% on the best sleep products available. Peace out.